Given by Councilwoman Lucido, remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear God, as the children of Eastpointe begin school this week, let us all be extra careful as we drive through our city, making sure that all of them get to the classroom safely. Please guide the teachers that we entrust with educating them. Children are our greatest blessing, and we have to be thankful for them and for all of our blessings. Please give them the skills and opportunity to become the next great doctor, teacher, mechanic, or whatever they choose to be. Let their choices only be limited to as far as they can dream. It is in your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So council, let's move down to the roster, and we have two proclamations for this week. Our first item is a proclamation that we do every year in September. It relates to Constitution Week. So we do have a representative from the DAR. If you'd like to come forward. We're used to seeing your mother, but.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say a little short lady. I'm a little tall.
We celebrate the Constitution every year in September. And we do this for a reason, because a lot of people just put it on the shelf and they never really look at it. But the Constitution is what governs our country, and it's a very important item. So this is just a salute to remind everyone that about the American Constitution. And it reads, whereas it is a privilege and duty of all Americans to commemorate 229th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America with appropriate ceremonies and activities. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issue of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Suzanne Pixley, Mayor of the City of Eastpointe, and the City Council do hereby proclaim that September 17th through 23rd shall be known as Constitution Week in the City of Eastpointe. And we urge all citizens to study the Constitution and reflect on the privilege of being an American with all rights and responsibilities which that privilege involves. So would you like to say a few words?
If you wouldn't mind, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much. Like she said, every year the city's always supported us. We are an Eastpointe chapter. We even had to change, believe it or not, our location. We changed to Eastpointe from East Detroit. I'm actually an East Detroit high school graduate. We did good, I like to say. And my mom actually was a teacher in the East Detroit school system. So and several of our members are former students of East Detroit and actually live in the East Detroit, or Eastpointe, sorry. And I gotta tell you, I was just so interested listening to what you guys just did with the houses and stuff. I actually am a resident of Detroit and finally got the house next door to me torn down. I'm so happy about that right now. But all of that's possible because of our Constitution and the fact that we can do that. So, and I just have to ask, any veterans here today?
Perfect.
Thank you so much, everybody, for your service. All of you who maybe have family members who are in the service. Please remember, we just celebrated our 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. And just go up and just tell somebody thank you. That's all I ask. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Our next item is the proclamation related to the American Powerboat Association, and we have two people that have been actively involved with the Powerboat Association, both of whom I think worked as volunteers. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so I'm going to let them read this proclamation.
I think John's the active member. I helped write this. As most of you may know or have at least seen the building on 9 Mile, there's a building that says APBA on it, which is the national headquarters of the American Powerboat Association. National headquarters, not just Michigan. That's pretty awesome, and a lot of that information's in here, but we wanted to recognize them for having their races in Detroit. You probably saw them on the news. It was the 100th anniversary of it originally being, well, not originally, the 100th anniversary of the first race in Detroit. There was a race back in 1916, and now, of course, it's 2016, so it's 100 years since the first time they raced here, and we wrote a proclamation on their behalf. Councilman Marion here has been a very good volunteer
3 years.
for them, 3 years, and here's the proclamation. Whereas the American Powerboat Association, founded in 1903, celebrates a phenomenal 113 years of organized boat racing competitions and is the oldest governing body in motorsports. Whereas the 100th anniversary of boat racing in Detroit was in 2016, with J. Michael Kelly as the winner, driving Graham Trucking number 5, and the 100th running of the Gold Cup was in Detroit in 2008. And actually, when I stopped by their office earlier, they had a resolution from the Michigan House of Representatives commemorating the 100th Gold Cup race period, so that was cool. And then whereas the American Powerboat Association national headquarters, as I said, has been located in Eastpointe for 36 years, whereas powerboating has a storied history, generally considered to have begun in 1863 with Frenchman Jean Lenoir used a petrol engine in the small boat, and whereas the first major race was across the English Channel in 1903, whereas powerboating was featured as an Olympic sport in 1908, unfortunately only in 1908, and whereas designer Christopher Columbus Smith built a Detroit-based boat surpassing 60 miles an hour and capturing the Gold Cup in 1915, the next year, in 1916, the race was run on the Detroit River. And whereas the APBA sanctions more than 150 races and has thousands of members nationwide, whereas a few racing categories include inboard, outboard performance craft, stock outboard, and unlimited hydroplanes, which is the category featured in the Gold Cup race in Detroit this last weekend. 2 weekends ago. Whereas the APBA Gold Cup is the oldest active trophy in motorsports and is the premier hydroplane boat race in the United States. Now, therefore, the mayor and city council do hereby proclaim that the residents of Eastpointe celebrate the conclusion of the 100th anniversary of the Gold Cup race in Detroit and share the excitement of powerboat racing. Thank you. And then,
Well, for anyone that ever wants to get a ringside seat, sign up and volunteer with the APBA and go down there and get a ringside seat, and I guarantee you'll be back next year to do it again. The one thing that does drive it is the volunteers like myself. This is the 3rd year that I've done it. This year I actually signed up for the setup crew, for the people that actually put that whole thing together so it happens, and it's all volunteer driven. And it's kind of like what happens even with the Grand Prix, it's all volunteer driven. And if it isn't for volunteers, it doesn't happen. But the biggest thing I recommend is to get the excitement of it in the first hand, ringside seat, you can't beat it. So, and you get to work and meet a whole lot of great people.
I'd like to thank you for coming up with the idea of recognizing this group because they've been here for so long and they're really an active part. And I'd like to thank you, John, for your volunteer work. I'm sure Cardi was down there screaming and yelling and watching. So thank you very much for doing this. And then they're both going to take the proclamation down to the office. Please call the roll.
Councilperson DeMonico.
present.
Councilperson Lucido.
Yes, here.
Councilperson Kleinfeld.
Here.
Councilperson Marion.
Here.
Mayor Pixley.
Here. Moving on, we'll have the first hearing of the public. Does anyone wish to be heard at this time? Sir? Please state your name.
My name's Carl Springer. I live at 23832, Normandy, Eastpointe. And I was here at the August 16th council meeting in regards to my water bill. And at the end of that meeting, Mayor Pixley, you had instructed Mr. Duchesne and Mr. Blum to arrange a meeting with me. That meeting never occurred, okay? Upon sending email to both of them via my daughter, we never received a response. All I did was receive another letter, or a bill in the mail concerning the water usage. I still don't understand the formula of what they're coming up with here, okay? First off and foremost, this was something that the city mandated us to use, the RTUs, radio transmission units. These things failed 8 years ago. 8 years ago, but now the city wants to come back on me for all this money. And I'm still disputing the amount of money. Now, this is the third time that I've inquired about this, and the figures keep changing, okay? And my whole point here is, what about the senior citizens who have gotten this bill, okay? Being on a fixed budget, that they panicked and said, oh, I gotta pay this. Had I not had the resolution to follow through with this, I'd be out, thousands of dollars here. The city has to own up to their responsibility that their equipment failed. This does not fall all back on the citizens or myself. The city needs to take responsibility in the fact that they did not maintain their equipment, okay? Without going any further than that. Like I said, this meeting was supposed to be set up between Mr. Duchesne and Mr. Blum. It never occurred, nor did I ever get a response. At the end of that meeting, Mr. Duchesne and Mr. Blum both said they had my personal information. There was no need for me to give them the personal information. To this date, the only thing I got was a letter in the mail. So,
We'll follow through with that.
okay, thank you.
Comment on it.
Pardon?
I will comment on it.
All right. All right, does anyone wish to be heard at this time? Ma'am?
Hello, my name is Carolyn McGar. I live at
Please state your name again.
Carolyn McGar.
Okay.
I live at 16494 Julianne.
And you might have to talk into the other microphone,
Okay.
the one with the red spot.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Should I say my address again?
Just your name.
Just my name? Carolyn McGar.
Okay.
Okay. I'm hoping I'm at the right place to express this problem about drugs dealing in Eastpointe. I've noticed it like twice. My neighbor also spoke to me about, she saw it as well. I went to the police station and also reported it. And that's when I came up here and she told me I could come to the city council meeting to address, what I see that's going on in the neighborhood. And up there by the liquor store, it's horrible. You got panhandlers up there that's begging for change. You can't go in and out the store without them bothering you, And a lot of them, I don't know where they come from. It doesn't matter. But I do see a lot coming from Detroit on this side. And it's just making the city look bad. I've been here since 2003, and I have seen the city go down since I've been here. The trash, people put their trash out before it's time. So I just want,
What is the location of the store you were talking about?
it's on Cushing,
Okay.
and it's pretty bad up there.
All right, thank you. We'll follow up on it. Anyone else wish to be heard? Mr. Curley?
Good evening. My name is Harvey Curley. Live in the city of Eastpointe. I'm up here tonight in the 3 minutes that I have, so I'll probably talk real fast. So, Madam Mayor, if you would tell me when I got 30 seconds to go so I don't go over time. But, of course, I'm up here to talk about the Rapid Transit Authority. It's now on the ballot. And let me remind the folks that are watching that may have called me that wants to help out that I still got their name, but I wanted to find out if it was going to make the ballot or not. It has. So we will be calling the folks who called me before and anyone else that's interested in joining our committee. Please give me a call. My number's in the book. One thing I want to point out, and I would assume that all the council members know about this, but I'm sure that a lot of people watching tonight do not know this, that somewhere in this document that the Board of Directors of the RTA has, that you and I, if this passes, you and I will be supporting and maintaining the people mover downtown. And that probably comes as a surprise to a lot of people. And not only will we be supporting the people mover, we will be supporting that little train that goes up and down Woodward Avenue for what, 2 miles? And if this is going to improve our quality of life here in Eastpointe, I would like to have somebody pull me aside and explain to me how supporting the people mover and this little train that goes up and down for 2 miles is going to improve our quality of life. I don't understand it. Again, I'm repeating myself, I don't understand why we have to spend that much money, and by the way, the price goes up all the time. You all know that. That we have to destroy our median, and if anybody thinks that there's going to be a single tree left on the median after the contractors come in, they better think again, because even though it's not, well, first of all, when I was told it was going to be 5 feet off of each side, then in the meeting we had, they changed it to 11 feet. Now it could be even more than that on taken off of the median for each side. So all the rules change as we go along. So, and I respect your opinions if you don't agree with me, and as long as you respect my opinion, how obviously you know my opinion. I'll come back up at the second here in the public if there's any more comments, but folks, I can just talk to the folks that are out there watching. I know you can't see me, but you can hear my voice, that please give me a call. There's a lot of things that we're going to do. I'm not going to tell you over television where we're going to meet because, quite frankly, I don't trust the people on the board of the RTA that they might send somebody in there as a spy and find out what it is that we're going to do. But we're going to work very hard. We're going to work very hard to, all we can do is tell the people of our own city what this is all about. I can't go to Washtenaw County, I can't go to Wayne or Oakland County and speak to them, but I can certainly speak to the folks here in our town. And we want to keep it beautiful, and there's a smart bus that is getting better every month, and for them to say that the handicap can't get downtown and people can't get downtown to get to the job is not truthful. It's just not truthful. So that's all I have right now. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Curley. Does anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else wish to be heard at this time? Seeing none, the first hearing of the public is closed. We'll start to approve the minutes from the special meeting of August the 9th, 2016. We have a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to approve the special meeting minutes of August 9th, 2016.
Support.
Move and support. Any discussion, corrections? Please call the roll.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Marion?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Item B is the regular meeting of August 16th, 2016.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of August 16th, 2016.
Support.
Move and support. Please call the roll.
Councilperson Marion?
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
We have no scheduled hearings, no unfinished business. We'll move into reports from administration. We'll start with our city manager, Mr. Duchesne.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The first item I'd like to address is scheduled with just again, a notice. Very pleased that we are receiving a Assistance to Firefighters grant, and I commend the work of the staff of the fire department and our special projects and grant coordinator, Sarah Candell, for the work in obtaining that well over $100,000 and being put to use for life safety equipment for firefighting. And thank the Director of Public Safety for guiding that in the future, because there's a lot of work ahead to do with the grant once received, but we're happy to have that. I will let Finance Director Blum discuss the other grant received, the RAP grant, and specifically as our risk manager. The second item I have is the taxpayers for Michigan Constitutional Government. We held a final meeting today, and action is about to take place this week, and I'm very pleased. It has been 18 months and a great deal of work, and we feel we will be moving forward this week further notice will be out in a release regarding the filing of litigation against the state of Michigan and the funding for community, municipalities, and local governments. The gentleman, Mr. Springer, brought up his conversation earlier. I'd like to recap what happened over the last period of time since our last meeting, because I did meet with staff to discuss the MTU situation and Mr. Springer's situation. I found that he had had a meeting with staff regarding the background and speaking to Public Works and Finance. I asked Finance and Public Works to review the material and the file that was available and present some further information. We then again met on the MTU case, and as council remembers, there's been about a dozen to 15 MTU remote readers that actually failed in battery well before their 15-year warranty that took place in the system. We are also investigating, and I've had Mr. Marucci, a supervisor of administration, meet with the original architect, if you would, of the system design here, do some background, and meet with the people that modeled after the Eastpointe system to find out more information about that. Regarding Mr. Springer's specific situation, Finance then reviewed and did forensically go back through the records on the monthly billings back to the November 15th of 2006 and built back a record which was then mailed to Mr. Springer in a letter that he appeared at the August 16th meeting. On August 26th, we issued a letter to Mr. Springer with the additional information and a review of that and the history on the billing. And as you know, we've had properties in this case. Somewhat you don't know, the owners have been attorneys and other parties that we have settled this because ordinance requires no free water be provided. We have come to agreement, and council passed a policy to discount those bills, and retro portion of the bill by 40% as one option, or allow people to have a payment plan that has been produced. So the letter, after Mr. Springer's August 16th appearance, the letter was issued to him on August 26th, and we conclude by saying that if after reviewing this information you are still interested in a meeting with the city manager and myself as written by Mr. Blum, please contact the manager's office and Linda or Lori will be happy to schedule an appointment for that. So that is what we've taken place on that, and that offer still stands. We have unfortunately, we're bound by the information and facts of our system and the council policy and ordinance. While some people may speculate they have a different use, I can't really deal with that speculation and belief, only what we have as far as facts, but we do still, that letter was sent on August 26th, and I will continue to hold that offer open to meet with Mr. Springer regarding that matter. That is all I have, except to be aware the legislature is back in session. So be very worried as we move forward to see what other impacts we have. On the positive note, as I mentioned, there'll be further information on the litigation that Eastpointe was the first to support and become associate members of the Michigan Constitutional Government Group. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Any questions?
I have one. Smoke tests. I'd like to get to the bottom of this flooding issue, at least figure out some more information. I hadn't heard anything since our last meeting.
We'll have a proposal to you shortly. What I did do, we had a couple of meetings with the our engineers, which are also the engineers for a number of people in the watershed and district. And somewhat to my surprise, there was a listing prepared by Kyle Seidel, an engineer that also worked with the sanitary district, and he mapped out for me the actual waterfall amounts in the last incident that occurred on the 16th. And it is surprisingly high in all areas. Our system, again, has no indication of, there was no indication of failure anywhere in the sanitary and combined system. So we ask the obvious questions, well, why would things change? Why are some people seeing this or not? We did find a number of people have had the roof drains still or re-tied into the sanitary in a combined sewer. That may have been through just a process of time, change of ownership, or something that have happened. So we're going to look at that along with doing the smoke testing and find out if there's any direct input sources on this. But it is, we also asked Mr. Pangori, who's had a history with AEW with the city for years, in fact, going back, 15 years or more? At least with that. And ask him that question about what could have changed, why were these incidents happening? Besides the fact that it was very high rainfall amounts, was a little more than I anticipated it was across the area. He really said that that is his best estimate at this time, is that the higher flows were a combination of perhaps some reconnections or change in that. There used to be, an effort to separate, and unusual events that occurred in rainfall. So we'll find out with the smoke test next. Unfortunately, they do not, the engineers do not have a game plan that they can recommend to you or us to do right now that would identify anything that's changed in the Eastpointe system that we control. But we're pursuing it further, and we'll continue to look at their recommendations.
When do you expect we'll have something in front of
I
us?
think probably we'll have a recommendation on the smoke testing for the next meeting.
Okay.
Got a question. I saw a thing in a bid for deciduous trees along Gratiot Avenue that we're bidding out. Is that, it says along the outside edges of Gratiot Avenue. Does that mean the median or curbside?
That would be right of way.
In the right of way.
The right of way.
Yeah, sidewalk to curb on those.
Okay. Because it just seems like it's a bit of a crapshoot right now.
Oh, yeah, we're not doing that.
Is that a good plan right now, or like, let's sit tight and wait and see?
Well, I was told recently that there is no construction planned for Gratiot. At the same time, my office just approved a work permit for Gratiot for next spring, as well as we're currently reviewing a contract proposal from the Department of Transportation to rebuild the catch basins from 8 Mile to 10 Mile. The regional director of MDOT, who I've known for some 30 years, called me and said, I want to assure you that we have no construction plan for Gratiot Avenue. I said, except for the milling and capping from 8 Mile to 11 Mile. He said, well, like I said, Steve, there's no construction plan for Gratiot. So apparently what we had is a failure to communicate, because in his mind, that's not a construction. That is maintenance. However, it's curb to curb milling and recapping of 2 inches of asphalt through the spring of next year. I've spoken to Mr. Curley regarding the crews and indicated to the Department of Transportation that, call it what you may, that's a major undertaking and program. They do not consider it as such. It's a few $1 million of maintenance. So I said, how would you best advise us, understanding, do you understand and know what the RTA proposals are? And they said, we are aware of it, and we intend to be at the meetings the RTA holds. So in MDOT's view, as well as grant programs or anything else regarding maintenance of Gratiot, we are to continue as we have been, proceeding. And as a contractor or a local administrator with MDOT, that's our best guidance we've received from them. I think we will keep a wary eye of all such projects and proposals, but right now it's business as usual, I guess, until at least November 8th, I would assume.
All right. Mr. Blum?
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council. I did request a talk on the what's called the RAP grant, the Risk Assessment Program through MMRMA. We put in the bushes in the Sled Hill it was this spring. Submitted our application and it was approved. They will pay 50% of the cost of the bushes that were put in, which will be $2,460. I just had to send them some paperwork with copies of invoices and canceled checks and all that, and that went in the mail today. so I expect the check within 30 days. We had always viewed that as kind of phase one, because we could only afford so many bushes at the time. So the plan is this fall, we will go back and put in some additional plantings, and we can actually apply for the same grant for the same activity, and we will go ahead and do that again for next year. But we do need some more bushes in certain locations to prevent sledding in the wrong part. So, but that was all I had tonight.
Any questions for the city treasurer? All right, let's move on to our city attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. Council's in receipt of our monthly status report. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding that or any other matter that council may have.
I just laughed at the last check, insufficient funds.
Oh, under item A, yes. We're waiting until September 9th to see if that check clears.
Okay, any questions for the city attorney?
And so wait, October 4th, though, we should plan for a hearing. Is that what we said earlier? We were going to table the
Yes. For the
Gascony.
Gascony address?
Okay.
Do you have others for that night?
I do not, just that one.
Okay. Just put it in your calendar.
Okay, for 6:30 on October 6th.
Yes, and I'll send out notice.
I heard what you said, Kurt.
October 4th.
October 4th.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to new business. Our first item is the approval of the renewed video service local franchise agreement with AT&T. Mr. Duchesne, do you want to talk about this at all?
No, I'd rather not, but given the Metro Act and conditions, we do review this with one of the well-known experts from municipality point of view on right-of-way agreements in the Metro Act, Mr. Neil Lado, and he responded to me basically, you should recommend approval of it. I recommend approval of it. If you don't approve it, it'll go into effect anyway. So, given those options, I would recommend you approve this renewed video service local franchise agreement for AT&T. They don't intend to offer any new services or changes to the municipality or consideration of public broadcast than previously required.
Well, I did have one question, and now that you mentioned that, it did seem like, I think there was, if I read it correctly, a 15 days if we don't respond. I think we're on day 16 or 17. So I think, as you said, probably would have went into effect anyway. But is it possible, though, to, we mentioned Comcast and WOW, you can still watch our meeting, right? Can we have AT&T see about that? I know we'd like to, I know we post them on YouTube, but it'd be nice. I know a few AT&T folks have said they can't watch our meetings anymore.
Good luck.
I think they will probably, like many, may want to watch it on video streaming, which we have the outline and the content of a agreement and architecture to do so on the website and the website. So that's where I think we will go. Well, we will go there, and I think that'll satisfy. AT&T has no. They've been approached numerous times. They frankly say, "Too bad for Comcast and the others. We came at the right time, and we're not going to offer any more."
Can we then look into, again, streaming it live? I know have our IT department look at that.
I just.
Says YouTube.
That's what I just mentioned.
Oh, okay, you're saying live.
Yeah, live streaming option, and then it will be also recorded. There's some advanced packages now that are a little more, workable and easy for people to access. So I'll just put it up on live streaming option, and then people can look at the recorded versions that directly download to YouTube. And I think that'll just move the cable providers out of it. There's another issue, too, that a number of people are reducing their use of cable and dropping cable.
Oh,
So, this will be probably the likelihood of where most people will go in the future anyway. So that is what we are doing.
Okay.
Is 10-year the norm for the these agreements?
Yep.
Yes.
And no, you can't say anything about those boxes that are everywhere. All right, can we have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve the renewed video service local franchise agreement for AT&T Michigan for a period of 10 years and authorize the city manager to execute the renewed franchise agreement on behalf of the city.
Support. Moved and supported. Please call the roll.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Marion?
Yes.
Our second item is a special event application for the East Detroit High School Homecoming Parade. And we have a motion for that.
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to approve the special event application for the East Detroit High School Homecoming Parade for Saturday, October 8th, 2016, from 11 a.m. to noon, with the conditions that the East Detroit Public Schools pay the full cost, $1,735, for city services and submit to the city a general liability insurance certificate naming the city of Eastpointe as additional insured on the policy for the event.
Support.
Move and support. Any questions? Please call the roll.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Marion?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes. Item C is the approval of the polling location change. Do we have a motion for that?
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve the change in voting polling location for Precinct 10 from Forest Park Elementary School, 18361 Forest, to St. Thomas Lutheran Church, 23801 Kelly.
Support.
Move and support.
I had one question. Do we not have the same issue from, well, we have an ease of using the electricity, I see, and maybe space also. Wouldn't we have the same issue at Bellevue? It's a double precinct also, and I'd assume the gym is the same size. Do we not have the same issue there?
There's a couple of different issues there, and yes, this of course illuminates one or a couple of issues because of space, location, parking, and unusually the bugaboo is electricity and outlet, space and capacity. So it does rectify that in this particular case, but there's others that could be improved, but step at a time.
Okay. So, so Bellevue's fine then, or
Well, it works.
we might just suggest
It
one?
works adequately, and for the amount of effort that goes to find a location and do that,
Sure.
I don't
Just
feel a pressing need to change that right now, but if somebody had a regional, within the precinct, something that we could avail ourselves of, we'd take a look at it, but it works adequately and lawfully, so.
I've never noticed any issues at Bellevue. It might not, the turnout might not be high enough there for it to be an issue, so
Thought I'd just ask.
unfortunately.
I think I voted there once. It was my polling location for like one election, and then moved to the high school.
Please call the roll.
Councilperson Marion?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Item D is the introduction and the first reading of ordinance number 1131, which relates to our city fee schedule. And Mr. Duchesne, do you want to explain the color coding behind it? Red means elimination, and
We've had a couple of changes, and you do, as you walk through this, see the highlighted new fee. And for the most part, as you notice, there has been not significant changes this time. Our construction installation permit fees, there is a note change there. I'm sorry, I'm kind of out of order here.
Should we might as well, I think there's only about like 6
Changes.
sections of change. Can we just run through them? I don't think it'd
Yeah.
take too long.
maybe just go through those that are red
Yeah.
and yellow in the second part.
So you have a change in assessing, some minor changes there compared to that's actually being deleted. Those are all deletions that we have indicated here. So you have yellow as the new and proposed, the green is increased, and I'm not sure what to call it exactly, let's say it's pink. That indicates elimination of those.
So is for the, it sounded like a lot of these you can just get on the internet probably for this assessing area, like,
Yes, most of these.
Is that why we're?
Most of these have been
Removing?
eliminated because of the new FOIA requirements.
Yeah,
we
we
can't
can't
charge
charge this
for
way
this kind
anymore.
of stuff.
Oh, okay.
So it's just getting them off the fee schedule.
Okay. Makes sense.
The FOIA that went into, I think it was July 1st of last year, had an impact on a number of our fees.
Okay. Okay.
We added information on the new, or the reinstatement fee. That is on page 3. Page 6. Some additional information, explanation on construction installation permit fees.
Just had a question about the application fee that non-refundable, the first, on page 6 there, that first one, that's yellow.
Yes.
Is that, so if we go down to the construction cost up to $1,075, is it going to be 105 now, or is just 30 of the 75 non-refundable?
Just the 30 of the amount is non-refundable in the application.
Okay.
Everything else is, may vary.
For those of you who have never gone through approving the fee schedules, if you would go through just the motion, you can see how many times and how long it took us to go through the fee schedule. I thought if anybody wanted to change anything, I was gonna kill you.
In perspective, too, we did include city council financial policy that, does state how the fees are to be renewed, and I put that in there to reflect that this does follow the council policy that we adopted in the budget. And as was stated by Mr. Blum, a number of these are eliminated because of the FOIA, so that we don't charge on that basis anymore. We also don't do the death certificates.
Right.
So you see a little business cleanup. Perhaps we are eliminating things like the water account history cost and.
Has anyone asked about birth or death certificates, or does it seem like everyone just
county
wants
does
to
that.
go to the county? Well, right, but I didn't know if.
I haven't had anybody, to answer your question, nobody's come in and said, I wanted to do it here, so in any case, so that was a good move. We do have on page 16 some changes.
Yeah, one thing on that I would like to point out is we added the monthly duplicate water bill mailed. What we have is a lot of cases where you have a landlord who wants a bill sent to their tenant, and then they want one sent to themselves, plus they want us to email them one. And we said for the second hard copy, we want to charge for that because there is cost involved. Email's free, but if you want a second hard copy, you're going to have to pay for it.
That was my question. So yeah, when it says duplicate water bill emailed, so that'd be someone that wants a hard copy also and an email?
Correct.
Okay, because I was like, what's a duplicate electronic copy mean?
Yeah, the first one's free. We'll bill you for free. But, yeah. We
Sign at a
actually have some
time.
where there's 2 hard copy and 3 emails on the same account every month. I mean, it's crazy in some of these
Okay.
management places.
Reduction in the elimination of police reports, again, based on our compliance with the law. On page 19, on page 20, we have a couple of new fees. Can't find my little,
Just got one you passed over on page 18. It just got my curiosity for animals. It says for traps, 5 days refund, and it was $10 upon return of the traps. What do we trap?
I don't think we're
do
issuing
any.
traps anymore, that's why it's coming out.
Okay.
Again, the pink is a elimination
Delete.
of it.
Okay.
And then actually, I think there was just, was it one, not grammatical, but for the color photographs, did we change it to, should it still be $10 per page? Looks like it says disc now. It's the black and white. This is on 18 also, right below the red.
Oh,
there.
yes. I don't recall on that. Linda, could you comment on that?
I think
Yeah,
it
it would
looks
be
like
on a disc, so we'll change it.
Just,
just
okay.
change it back. Okay.
right.
That's what I thought. Yeah, the last probably just
On 18 of
changed to the
22.
wrong line. I see we reduced the CD fee there, actually.
I think 19 and 20 are relatively self-explanatory of current operation and a reflection of change of actual costs that are experienced by the city.
And 21, on page 21, the sewer tap and the concrete street repair. What is a quarter joint in a full panel? Is that what, the square markings on it? And why would we be charging someone? That would only be if their sewer was causing the street to collapse
Right,
and they weren't part of the SLAP program.
yeah. If they were a contractor, part of the, not part of the program otherwise, that would be the charge.
And if we can go back, I had a question on 20 at the bottom, the big green area. Frozen meter charges, what does frozen meter exactly mean?
Yeah, that's a term of art used. The frozen meter, just one that, see, they don't speed up. They're a simple device, they're sealed units, but they will, upon long-term age, they slow a little bit during their aging, and then they just cease to work. So that is the charge. That's a frozen meter charge, is a service charge for the actual cost of the meter plus the,
Wait, we actually, so if there's no damage to it or anything though,
it has to be replaced at a cost to the user.
I mean, I know this was in here, I think we just added the 10% administrative fee, I
Yeah.
think is the only difference.
Instead of a flat fee or a change of that.
But,
Actually, we might want to check on that and get back with you on next meeting, because my understanding was it was an actual frozen meter where somebody hadn't kept the heat on in their
winterized
vacant
their-
home,
Yeah.
and the
I
meter
was wondering if
froze,
it was
and then the meter
literal.
cracks. Because it was not my understanding that if our meter failed and we replaced it, that we would charge for that. It was if they damaged it through not keeping the house heated.
right, not winterized.
But that would be a Director Pry question tomorrow at staff for clarification.
Yeah, my understanding was he was talking about the term of art that regarding a meter ceasing to work and operate in that manner, but
Okay.
that's, that may be more accurate as far as outside conditions, but
We need to know
we
if
don't
it's
have that happen very often.
age or cold.
Yeah, if it's cold, obviously, there's no issue with that. If it's part of the actual physical change in process, we can clarify that. This is for introduction, so.
Right,
do
we
have
got a
time to do
second,
it.
yeah, so, all right.
Okay, we have a motion? Do we have a motion on it?
No, I don't have one.
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to introduce and give first reading to ordinance number 1131, which replaces the existing city fee schedule and schedule the ordinance for second reading in consideration for adoption at the City Council's September 20th, 2016 regular meeting.
Do we have support?
Support.
Please call the roll.
Councilperson Kleinfeld,
Yes.
Councilperson Monaco,
Yes.
Councilperson Marion,
Yes.
Mayor Pixley,
Yes,
Councilperson Lucido.
Yes.
it was a hearty yes. All right, let's move on to payroll and bills. We have a motion to pay these bills.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve payment of the bills in the amount of $6,530,719.34.
Support.
Move and support. Any questions? Please call the roll.
Councilperson Kleinfeld,
Yes.
Councilperson Monaco,
Yes.
Councilperson Marion,
Yes.
Mayor Pixley,
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido.
Yes.
Move on to the second hearing of the public. Does anyone wish to be heard at this time? Mr. Curley, you promised you were coming back. All right, anyone else wish to be heard? All right, let's move on to mayor and council reports. We'll start with Mr. DeMonico.
All right, thank you, Madam Mayor. Actually, I'll keep this very short. Hope everyone had a fun Labor Day, had a nice 3-day weekend, hopefully. And then also just want to say again, we have a lot of stuff on the November ballot, including what Mr. Curley came to speak about, the Regional Transit Authority. Just a lot of candidates on the ballot. Please read up on your candidates. The internet makes that really easy. And, we've got our first presidential debate coming up shortly also. So just keep an eye out. And that's all, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Marion?
I've got nothing this week.
Really?
I don't trust you.
This is Cecile.
Well, I just have a couple of things. First of all, I would like to let everyone know that St. Basil's is the Great is having a white elephant sale Thursday, September 8th through Saturday, September 10th. And also, for anyone who's interested, the library is still trying to get more people to build little libraries for the parks in the city. And if you are picked, you will get $150 and a plaque for your little library. So if anyone is interested, please contact the library for more information on that. And that will be it for this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Kleinfeld?
Madam Mayor, I don't have anything this evening.
Oh, my gosh. Well, those little ladies at St. Basil called me, too, so they must have been worried that one of us was going to forget. So I promised them that I would tell them that about the white elephant sale at St. Basil's, so you caught that. This Sunday, on the 11th, is the mob mass at St. Veronica's. So we're expecting lots and lots of people to be coming to the city for the 11 a.m. mass. And St. Veronica's is looking beautiful. They're celebrating their 90th year. It's a big celebration for the church. With the Archbishop Vigeron coming too, so it'll be a really big event. They're having tours of the school, tours of the church, and a very nice lunch. And they've invited a lot of the alumni and a lot of the teachers that used to teach. So it's a big deal for the city, for many, many of the people that were born and raised here. I'd like to offer my condolence to the family of Eddie Norris, longtime resident. Longtime speaker before this council, many, many times. It was a sad day when he died suddenly just last week on Friday. And also Richard Newmer, who was our World War II vet, who helped to raise the flag at Iwo Jima, and then was part of the occupational force at Nagasaki, and he died last week. He was a Marine beyond all Marines. He was an outstanding World War II person, and I was so glad that we had selected him as the Grand Marshal for our last Memorial Day parade. So it was a sad day. He was very, very active East Detroiter for a long, long time. And that's all I have, so I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Support.
Please call the roll.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Marion?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Meeting's adjourned at 8:05.